Hello and welcome to the March 30th, 2025 episode of Nick's News. I am your host, Nick, brought to you by Some Budget Studios. That's right, we're putting money into this project of ours. We're on every Sunday, and I thank you all so much for tuning in or catching the replay. You can catch us live on YouTube or catch our replays on YouTube and Facebook, even though on Facebook we kind of just are linking stuff back to the YouTube because YouTube is awesome! This is a program dedicated to bringing good news to counter all of the bad news that we are bombarded with on a daily basis with the hope of bringing a little bit of joy back to the world. Several of our articles are pulled from sites like goodgoodgood.co and goodnewsnetwork.org, but we appreciate everything that's sent in by you, the viewers. Hello, everybody. Hello, Yathena from the Silent Stars Feast to everybody at the Silent Stars Feast, today or catching the replay. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for supporting Nick's News, and I support all of you, and I hope that your event, your first event ever, has been a fantastic one. So, to everybody at Silent Stars, cheers. Hello, Joseph. Hello, Happy Coquet. I don't think I should say that whole name, if just because I don't know what YouTube is going to do about that, but regardless. Very cool. All right, news brew. We've got a big news brew tonight. So this, if you check out the Nick's News Instagram, I actually post the news brews ahead of time. I post them on Thursdays so you can see what's coming. And what's coming today is Sundae Sauce. And I will let the camera zoom in on Sundae Sauce. Sundae Sauce is a barrel-aged imperial stout with cherries, vanilla, lactose, cocoa nibs, and natural pecan flavor, and clocks in at a whopping 13.9% ABV, a high-octane brew. Sundae Sauce, more like the whole Sunday. Now, because it is a barrel-aged imperial stout, we have our wonderful harpoon snifter. We don't need the Balisong bottle opener because it's a can, a gorgeous can as per producer Donna. So we'll blow the gain on the audio and we'll just crack this sucker open. Now this beer is from Pipeworks Brewing Company out of Illinois, I believe. And that's where I picked this up at a Binny's while I was hanging out with friends in Chicago a couple months ago. I have not had anything from Pipeworks that I'm aware of. So this is going to be a first for us. Oh my. Let's get into the theatrics of a couple second pour. Oh. She dark. Good to the last drop. Beautiful can. Oh boy, folks. Oh boy, that's a boozy beer. Sundae Sauce by Pipeworks. Not afraid to throw around its weight class. All right, shout outs. Many thanks to everybody that has come with us from Facebook, from the Facebook broadcast to the YouTube exclusive broadcasts. Facebook has been letting us down more and more, and so we made the executive decision to, and we are excited to just be streaming on YouTube, where we can provide the higher quality than Facebook allows us. So Facebook was not allowing us to take full advantage of all the new technology. We got the new camera, my new computer, everything. So YouTube, however, does. That's why we are a crisper picture, a better view of Sue's tank in case Sue decides to come out, and everything else going on. So we'll still use Facebook for marketing and as a social media hub for advertising, but all of our stuff, all of our videos are making the move to YouTube, and we thank you all so much for staying with us. So to all of you, the Nick's Newsies, cheers. Oh, it's all there. The vanilla, the cherry, the milk sugar, aka lactose, kind of tying it together like it's the ice cream. It's kind of, the lactose and the vanilla are playing really well. The chocolate's there, not a lot of coffee, and the pecan is subtle, but the nuttiness is present. That is an amazing beer. Wow. Hey, Tim. Next up, do you want some fine wine or cider? Fox and Hen Winery is located between downtown Grand Haven and Allendale. They specialize in small batch wines and ciders that reflect the Lake Michigan climate. You can check them out Fridays and Saturdays from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I believe this upcoming Friday, which will be the 4th of April, I will be there at Fox and Hen from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to come and have a glass of wine or some amazing cider with me, by all means, swing on by Fox and Hen 5 to 7 p.m. on Friday, or head out there at your convenience. They're open again Fridays and Saturdays, 1 p.m. to 8 p.m., and it is an absolutely amazing place. So to Fox and Hen, cheers. Price on beer from Tim. Tim, I don't remember how much I paid for this can. Now, given my history of beer purchase, it's probably exorbitant. I think this one was probably about $13 for this can. And I have a sister beer that's going to debut in April as well. So I think these guys were about $13 on their own. The beer I buy, I tend to buy very pricey beer, but that's because I like really good beer. Sadly, it comes at the higher price point. So a lot of the news brews that you'll see aren't like Oberon, or they're definitely not Coors or anything like that. So they're pricier beer, but I always try to find them at good prices. So I'll pass on, if you check out the Instagram, I'll pass on where I get my beer from. So y'all can go and grab some if you want, if it's available in your area. Bug update. So it was a quiet week for the bugs up until about this morning, when Mantis MacLeod decided it was time to level up. That's right, Mantis MacLeod, our survivor, our finalist, the winner of the great game, has grown his wings and has reached adulthood. He is indeed a male. I was thinking about towards the end that he was a male, and sure enough, Mantis MacLeod is a male mantis. He's a male Chinese mantis, and his biological clock is ticking. Sadly, the males don't live very long, but we are still going to show him all the love and care that we have been this entire time, as he has gone from a nymph that hatched from an egg case, from Madeline Pryor, the mantis that we rescued before the end of the year last year, into adulthood. He looks amazing. Check out our Instagram, where you will see photos this week of him in all of his splendid glory. Elmira is safe and snoozing, hopefully going to emerge soon. Sue has made a few surprise visits this week. I've been up a little bit. I've been up late a few days this week, and sure enough, I've heard Sue clacking around, and there's other signs when Sue moves around, so Sue's been out and about. And Ripley is horrifying, but Ripley's new tank is almost ready. All the parts and pieces of Ripley's new tank are almost ready for the build. So keep an eye out for an upcoming event that we'll do some posts ahead of time for. If you want to tune in and you want to see me do another rehousing. Now, we did a rehousing for Sue when we built Sue's new vivarium. We're going to do a rehousing video for Ripley. So you can get a look at this extraterrestrial nightmare, this extraterrestrial terror that I own. And enjoy building a new vivarium. It should be a fascinating process, and it should be really good and rewarding for Ripley. So, to the bugs. Cheers, Mantis MacLeod. And hello, Becky, in the chat. So, producer Donna asked, will there be time to find a girlfriend for Mantis MacLeod before he passes? Not from the wild. Sadly, this is going to just get into the earliest period where Chinese mantises might begin to emerge, like late March. If I want to get Mantis MacLeod mated, I am probably going to have to order him a bride. I will look at prices. Disposable income is not what it is, and some budget studios only has so much of a budget. But I will at least look into the possibility of Mantis MacLeod getting a mate. It'd be external. I'd have to be ordering her from a website. So there's a lot of problems that can come from that. So we will see what we can do. Hey, Royal in the chat. Mail order bride. Yep, Mantis MacLeod. For those who are just catching up, Mantis MacLeod, he molted, and he is a male. So now his clock is ticking. He's an adult male Chinese mantis. They don't live for very long, but if we want to mate him and we want to have more babies, I'm going to have to order him a bride. Which is so weird to say. All right. I've been keeping an eye on my phone because we had a tornado alert earlier, and now there's a tornado watch in Columbus, Ohio. If you watch us from the Columbus area, there's a tornado watch. I am going to alert a friend of mine down there. I'm going to message her and let her know that she needs to be safe down there. So, message sent. Hopefully she will be all right and there won't be any tornadoes. Our siren went off earlier today in West Michigan. That was harrowing, so it was interesting. All right, let's get into our good news. Our broadcast is broken up into 4 major categories, and those categories are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes, the really nice touchy-feely articles that we like to end on. So we're going to start off in category 1, science and technology. And we called this first one Pyroscopic Vision. And I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. First Earth-Fire Alliance satellite for detecting wildfires is now in orbit. This came from News Atlas and was posted on March 18th of 2025 by Abhimanyu Ghoshal. The first satellite in a constellation designed specifically to locate wildfires early and precisely anywhere on the planet has now reached Earth's orbit, and it could forever change how we tackle unplanned infernos. The FireSat constellation, which will consist of more than 50 satellites when it goes live, is the first of its kind that's purpose-built to detect and track fires. It's an initiative launched by nonprofit Earth-Fire Alliance, which includes Google and Silicon Valley-based space services startup Muon Space as partners, among others. According to Google, current satellite systems rely on low-resolution imagery and cover a particular area only once every 12 hours to spot significantly large wildfires spanning a couple of acres. FireSat, on the other hand, will be able to detect wildfires as small as 270 square feet, or 25 square meters for folks who haven't landed folks on the moon, which is about the size of a standard classroom, and deliver high-resolution visual updates every 20 minutes. 200 square feet may also be the size of a studio apartment for relative size comparison. The FireSat project has only been in the works for less than a year and a half. The satellites are fitted with custom 6-band multispectral infrared cameras designed to capture imagery suitable for machine learning algorithms to accurately identify wildfires, differentiating them from misleading objects like smokestacks. These algorithms look at an image from a particular location and compare it with the last 1,000 times it was captured by the satellite's camera to determine if what's being seen is indeed a wildfire. AI technology in the FireSat system also helps predict how a fire might spread. That can help firefighters make better decisions about how to control the flames safely and effectively. This could go a long way towards preventing the immense destruction of forest habitats in urban areas, and the displacements of residents caused by wildfires each year. For reference, the deadly wildfires that raged across Los Angeles in January were estimated to have caused more than $250 billion, billion with a B, in damages. Muon is currently developing 3 more satellites, which are set to launch next year. The entire constellation should be in orbit by 2030, so just about 5 years away. The FireSat effort isn't the only project to watch for wildfires from orbit. Aurora Tech launched its first wildfire detection satellite, Forest 1, back in 2022, followed by one more in 2023 and another earlier this year. The company tells us that another 8 are due to go up toward the end of March. So FireSat So the Aurora Tech company is also jumping in on this, which is really cool. So to Aurora Tech and to Firesat from Muon Space and Google for tackling wildfire prevention by putting satellites that look for wildfires up into low Earth orbit. Thank you, and cheers. That's a big boozy beer. Oh my gosh. All right, so that's going to jump us out of science and technology. We're going to move on to category 2, health and medicine. We call this, at least it closes in the back. I will copy and paste this article into the chat if y'all want to read along. T-shirt that monitors vital signs after surgery lets patients leave hospital sooner. This was posted by our friends at goodnewsnetwork.org. It was posted on March 21st of 2025 by their website. A sensory t-shirt that monitors a patient's vital signs after cancer surgery could help them leave the hospital sooner to recover at home. The garment is, and when you think of hospital garment, you think of that thing that's just going to show your ass off at times. The garment is worn for around 2 weeks under clothes 3 times each day, and patients felt more reassured than a control group in a pilot study involving 70 people. A team from Sapienza University in Rome, Italy, wanted to see if patients could be discharged earlier than the normal time frame following urological surgery for cancer. Professor Antonio Pastore and his colleagues worked with LET Wearable Solutions, a company specializing in telemonitoring, to design a light t-shirt with sensors that track ECG, heart rate, body temperature, and more, then sends the data to an app and a web-based software. In a control group, patients were discharged as normal 3 to 5 days after surgery, but the wearable group were discharged 24 to 36 hours earlier, 2 to 4 days after surgery, with the t-shirt monitoring vital parameters, including blood pressure, pulse rate, saturation, and blood glucose. The wearable group were fully briefed on how the device worked and were asked to wear it from 7 to 10 a.m., 2 to 5 p.m., and 7 to 10 p.m. The t-shirt we gave to patients differs from smartwatches and other wearables, explained Professor Pastore. It can reveal more data, including electrolytes, which we need to continue to monitor after bladder surgery, as they can reveal mineral imbalances that lead to serious complications. In the control group, 8 patients, or 26%, went back to the hospital before their scheduled follow-up, compared with only 2 patients, or 6%, in the wearable group. Additionally, the t-shirt detected the onset of cardiological conditions in 5 patients, allowing for early diagnosis and treatment. The overall satisfaction rate among patients in the group was 90%, with an average monitoring period of nearly 14 days. Our patients found the t-shirt easy to use, and over 90% reported it allowed them to feel safe and cared for while they were recuperating at home, said Professor Pastore. Being able to allow patients home sooner improves their quality of life as they feel more comfortable in their own environment, and it means we can free up hospital beds too, he added. The findings are due to be presented this weekend at the European Association of Urology Congress in Madrid, Spain. The association's scientific chair professor, Martin Alberson, welcomed the study. The trial is early stage, but the insights are very interesting, said Professor Alberson, a urologist at UZ Leuven Hospital in Belgium. Particularly since patients strongly accepted the wearable and it was able to detect complications in real time and reduce unnecessary rehospitalizations. A study into the cost-effectiveness of the technology is currently underway. That's really cool. A t-shirt that you can wear that is going to monitor your vitals post-surgery so that you can go home and relax, not in the I was about to say safety, but there's also that air when you're in the hospital of uneasiness. So you go home and you can relax at home while wearing this shirt that is accurately monitoring your vitals. That is awesome. To everybody at Sapienza University in Rome, Italy for this study. And Professor Pastore, cheers. Now we just need to make sure that it's like a graphic tee, so that it's something cool. Like if I could get like Godzilla on the front while I'm recovering from surgery, that would be awesome. So that's going to get us out of health and medicine. We're going to jump into category 3, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals. And this first one we called, this shit is ridiculous. I hope you're ready for this article, because I'll tell you, I wasn't. I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat for y'all to read along. Producer Donna in the chat saying that the shirt is like a or a Minecraft life meter. That's awesome. Alright, here we go. Get ready, folks. How do you rehome a rhino by helicopter? Upside down. That's right. That's the name of this article from the BBC, posted back on the 28th of March by Riley Farrell. Moving endangered rhinos to new areas is a vital part of their conservation. War-torn helicopters from the Vietnam War are airlifting the creatures to safety. Zipping through the skies over South Africa, a 1,300 kilogram, or 2,856 pound, for anybody who's landed people on the moon, a horned herbivore is dangling by its feet from a helicopter. It may be a shocking sight to behold, but within the last decade, the use of helicopters in rhinoceros conservation has been gaining momentum in South Africa, Namibia, and Botswana. Joe in the YouTube, Joe in the chat, I beg your finest pardon. Black rhinos are critically endangered, according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, or the IUCN. However, thanks to conservation efforts, their numbers are on the rise. Today, black rhinos have a population of roughly 6,500, which is up from the 1990s low point of less than 2,500, when poaching and habitat loss drove the species to the edge of extinction. Black rhinos are moved around for three reasons, says Ursina Roosh, population manager for the WWF South Africa Black Rhino Range Expansion Project. First, to protect them from poaching. Secondly, for monitoring purposes. Rhino researchers often take the opportunity to insert a satellite GPS telemetry into the rhino's horns, which is really awesome. And thirdly, to ensure their genetic population is as diverse as possible. When you have a very small number of animals, you can end up with a genetic bottleneck. So by moving the rhinos around and spreading out their genetic diversity, you're preventing that bottleneck and the potential for interfamily hanky-panky that may or may not throw off the gene pool. So this is actually one of the problems that have beset cheetahs, sadly. Cheetahs are absolutely terrible genetically. So a lot is being done with conservation efforts to improve the cheetah population. So we're trying to do the same with the black rhinos, or prevent anything that happened with the cheetahs to happen with the black rhinos. The species mostly exists within protected pockets on public and private reserves, so translocation is one of the only available methods to increase their range. If we don't translocate rhinos and create new populations, they will inbreed enough that they crash or run out of resources and stop breeding, says Rush. Black rhino population growth rates are density dependent. This means if a rhino community is too crowded, the females will start having longer intercalving periods, the time between the birth of one calf and the next, and so produce fewer calves, an evolutionary response and adaptation to resource management. Whilst the transport of animals for population regrowth and genetic diversity isn't new, the regular use of a helicopter in this fight is. Beginning in the 1990s, but refining methods since the 2010s, helicopters have revolutionized the world of rhino conservation, says Rush. Her WWF project has translocated around 270 rhinos, of which about 160 have been airlifted. Leaning from an airborne helicopter, a veterinarian darts the rhino in the bum with immobilizing drugs, typically targeting youngsters or dominant bulls that need to be removed to prevent inbreeding, says Rush. Rhino immobilization typically involves a potent opioid and a tranquilizer. So they're going to get high and get knocked out. Great. The anatomy of a rhino means it is remarkably... Oh, Jesus. That's a quote that we're going to get to. Where is that quote? Oh, this is going to be fun. The quote is, "The anatomy of a rhino means it is remarkably able to breathe comfortably upside down." Whereas before veterinarians would have spent 20 minutes on foot tracking a halfway sedated rhino, the helicopter team now saves precious time by aerially tracking the rhino, and within 4 minutes, the rhino falls unconscious, says Rush. By the time the rhino goes down, the ground team and the helicopter team spring into action, quickly approaching the rhino for processing. They take biological samples and measurements and insert microchips for monitoring. Next, the crew ties big soft straps around the rhino's 4 ankles. The straps connect to a single rope, which is hooked to the underside of the helicopter. There is a video in the article if you want to watch this insanity take place in real time. Then the move happens. The helicopter airlifts the rhino, which dangles below to a central location, generally an open field, where the ground crews are waiting, says Rush. Historically, the rhino would have been woken up from the immobilizing drug and walked into a crate, before being hoisted onto the back of a truck headed for a conservancy. But these road trips could be stressful for the rhino passengers. They're awake for the journey, albeit sometimes anesthetized, and standing in a crate, which can cause muscle or horn damage, or even occlude their airways, which can be fatal. Can't have that. Moreover, the limited road network in the region and the difficult terrain made it hard to reach the remote final locations they're using for ground transportation. This is where airlifting comes in. The health risks of crate travel and lack of roads, for instance in Namibia's Cunene region, mean that nowadays helicopters are increasingly used for the translocation of rhinos, explains Robin Radcliffe, Associate Professor of Wildlife and Conservation Medicine at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York. Conservationists really only consider slinging as a solution when the capture or release site is inaccessible by road, he says, or when slinging significantly cuts down on the transport time. This is insanity. The video and the pictures of this is nuts. Check this article out if you can, by all means. In Rush's experience, researchers and conservationists employ 2 main helicopters to transport black rhinos, the Airbus AS350 Astar and the UH-1H Huey. That's right, a helicopter made famous by its incredible acts during the Vietnam War, is now transporting rhinos. The Airbus AS350 Astar, nicknamed the Squirrel, has been used since 2021, says Rush. This helicopter is small, cost-effective, and readily available in South Africa, she adds. UH-1H Hueys, on the other hand, are designed for lifting large loads. Famously used during the Vietnam War, some of these iconic helicopters still exhibit bullet hole patches and floor installations for mounted gun covers, says Rush. Nowadays, these military-grade helicopters, complete with windows under the cockpit so the pilot can see the ground below, are valuable for civilians in firefighting and rhino conservation. The Huey's blades have a unique flap. They really slap the air, Rush says. That was the sound soldiers in the Vietnam War wanted to hear, feeling that relief of someone rescuing them. The Huey, made famous by Hollywood films, including Apocalypse Now, Platoon, and Full Metal Jacket, has become synonymous with the Vietnam War and provided close heliborne support for U.S. soldiers, evacuating the wounded and the dead. It is also, anytime I hear Fortunate Son play, it's the only thing I can think of. The fateful twist of using a machine of war to save lives is not lost on the conservationists who fly in the helicopters. Ironically, in the 80s, helicopters were used by some poachers to kill rhinos, says Radcliffe. The fact that helicopters are now being used to save them is a wonderful example of conservation. Translocation is one of the most valuable tools of rhino conservation, he adds. The WWF's Black Rhino Range Expansion Project has 18 project sites with over 400 black rhinos spread across the site, making up 15% of all the black rhinos in South Africa, says Rush. Really, none of this would be possible without helicopters, both in terms of darting and transferring rhinos out of inaccessible areas, she says. That was from Radcliffe, I believe. Radcliffe's team, which partnered in Namibia's government, pioneered the netless slinging method for moving rhinos upside down under a helicopter. In 2021, Radcliffe and his... Oh, no, sorry. Rush from She... and then he is Radcliffe. Sorry, my bad. Radcliffe and his colleagues won an IG Nobel Prize, an award satirizing the Nobel Prize given to research that makes people laugh and then think, for their work on hanging black rhinos upside down. It made me think when I read the article title. Wait a second. Rhino upside down being flown by helicopter. As the opioid used reduces the rhino's blood oxygen levels, it's all the more crucial to determine which flight position is best for breathing. Before settling on the upside-down position, Radcliffe and his fellow researchers tried laying the flying rhinos on boards tethered to the helicopter, which wasn't aerodynamic as the board caused excess swaying in mid-air, says Radcliffe. Then his team tested rhinos in nets, which aerodynamically worked a bit better, but still wasn't ideal. The net's positioning compromised the rhino's breathing. Plus, the net's metal frame added considerable weight and required even more ground personnel to place the rhinos into the net, which defeated the purpose of having a quick and efficient transport method, explained Radcliffe. Airborne inversion is the safest option, says Radcliffe. The anatomy of the rhino means it is remarkably able to breathe comfortably upside down, Radcliffe added. Hanging by their legs, the weight and build of rhinos allow them to extend their head and neck downwards, straightening the spine. Also, a safer, smoother flight occurs because the rhino horn acts as a tail feather or wind vane, reducing the risk of spinning. The great thing about lifting the rhinos upside down by their feet is that they're aerodynamic themselves, said Radcliffe. Probably still more aerodynamic than a Jeep. I want to see the wind tunnel test of a rhinoceros upside down being carried by a helicopter. While the image of an upside-down rhino may initially seem cruel, the rhino's well-being is always paramount before, during, and after the 10 to 30 minutes of airborne time, says Rush. The rhino is constantly under supervision of experienced veterinarians and pilots who can tell if the rhino is comfortable or straining, she says. Nonetheless, conservation is not without some cost. Helicopter use creates air and noise pollution. In a perfect world, we'd have a zero-carbon footprint, says Radcliffe. But we as humans are obligated to make a concerted effort to save species like the rhinoceros. They are in serious decline, not because of normal ecological processes, but because of our own actions. Rhinos have existed for 50 million years, and fossil evidence indicates that there were once upwards of 150 different rhino species. There are now only 5. I don't want to tell my grandchildren that we did have rhinos when I was growing up, but they're no longer here because humans poached them and destroyed their habitat, says Radcliffe. Slowly but surely, helicopters are making a difference. 30 years ago, the black rhino population in Kunene, in the northwest of Namibia, was depleted, explains Radcliffe. However, in 2010, Namibia's first rhino airlift has allowed these animals to return to the region. Due to the impassable vast mountainous ranges in the region, the airlift allowed the introduction of rhinos into areas that otherwise would have been beyond reach. Scientists like Radcliffe are committed to continuously studying and honing the heli-moves, and they plan to incorporate emerging technologies such as drones and satellites into rhino conservation too. Radcliffe envisions that in the future, this innovative method of rhino conservation could even be applied to the rainforest environments of Indonesia, where Sumatran rhinos are critically endangered. And beyond rhinos, the technique of lifting large ungulates, or large animals with hooves, upside down has also been applied to other species, such as elephants and some endangered antelope, Radcliffe adds. If you thought it was bonkers enough that we're transporting rhinos by helicopter, imagine Operation Dumbo Drop with a helicopter. In the meantime, according to Rush, South Africa's translocated rhinos seem to be thriving, grazing, and breeding in their new homes. You get to know the rhinos, their individualities, their personalities, says Rush. They get released on the other side, and then you get to watch these populations grow, from first to second to third generation offspring. That is wild and crazy. To everybody involved in transporting black rhinos, critically endangered black rhinos, to and fro from their conservation areas via helicopter upside down, cheers. This next one is a heckin' good boy article, and this was sent in by Cassidy. So Cassidy, thank you so much for sending in this heckin' good boy article. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Oops, I done goofed. Fixed it. Cheers. Unexpected heroes join the fight against insect scourge that threatens 18 states. We are able to find them as quickly as possible. This was posted on Yahoo News on March 23rd by Alexis McDonnell. The spotted lanternfly may be small, but its impact is anything but. Since it was first detected in Pennsylvania back in 2014, the invasive species has expanded into at least 18 states, threatening over 70 plant species, including grapes, hops, and fruit leaves. And if you threaten my hops, I'ma come for you. So, spotted lanternflies, you leave my hops alone. Left unchecked, it could devastate industries and ecosystems alike. But now, an unexpected group of heroes is joining the fight. Highly trained detection dogs. Much like bomb-sniffing or search-and-rescue dogs, these canine conservationists are trained to track down the spotted lanternfly by scent, helping conservationists stop infestations before they spread. They've been trained to smell out something we want them to find, said Kansas State University wildlife expert Drew Ricketts, according to the K-State Research and Extension. Their noses are proving far more effective than human eyes, especially in dense forests and hard-to-reach areas where traditional monitoring falls short. Once an infestation is found, crews can remove eggs, apply targeted insecticides, or even introduce natural predators to keep the bug population in check. As invasive species start to expand, we are able to find them as quickly as possible and can remove them to keep a new population from starting, Ricketts explains. This innovative use of detection dogs is part of a growing movement in conservation. Canines have already been trained to locate coyote scat for wildlife research and to track down endangered bird nests for monitoring. Now, their keen sense of smell is being harnessed to fight one of the country's most destructive invasive species. Ricketts highlighted the urgency is only growing. He said spotted lanternflies have already been detected as far west as Iowa, and fears they could soon take hold in Kansas. That's especially concerning for the state's growing vineyard industry. Within one growing season of the infestation starting, you could see 80 to 100% vine loss, Ricketts warned. I am also brutally Italian. If you mess with my wine, I will come after you. Spotted lanternflies, your days are numbered. While early detection is crucial, so is community action. The best way to stop the spread is to spot and report them through platforms such as iNaturalist and eliminate spotted lanternflies at any stage of their life cycle, especially by destroying their eggs before they hatch. While it may not feel good to eliminate life, taking action against invasive species is essential to preserving native ecosystems, including the one in your own backyard. By combining innovative solutions like detection dogs with community action, we have a real chance to curb the spread of spotted lanternflies before they cause irreversible damage. Protecting native ecosystems starts with vigilance, and sometimes that means letting a well-trained nose lead the way. To these heckin' good boys who are sniffing out the spotted lanternfly, and to Cassidy for sending in that article, cheers. There we go. That's going to get us out of flora and fauna, aka plants and animals. We are going to move into our final category, the wholesome notes, the really nice touchy-feely articles that we like to end on. And we called this first one the benevolence bump. And I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. Oh, Becky asked, Nick, do you still have my can? Ha ha ha. I do. I will find a way to get that can to you. The Moonberries can is still here at my house. I will find a way to get that can to you. Maybe we'll chat later about how to get you that can. Yeah, we'll find a way to get you that can. To the article. COVID benevolence bump endures as acts of kindness are 10% higher than before 2020. This was posted in The Guardian on the 19th of March by Jessica Murray, who's the social affairs correspondent. The world experienced a benevolence bump of kindness during the COVID-19 pandemic that has remained, with generous acts more than 10% above pre-pandemic levels. The annual World Happiness Report found that in 2024, acts such as donating and volunteering were more frequent than in 2017 to 2019 in all generations and almost all global regions, although they had fallen from 2023. It's only this late in the broadcast that I am realizing we didn't do the news quote because of acts of kindness. Maybe we'll do the news quote at the end tonight because I goofed. Back to the article. Helping strangers was still up by an average of 18% from the pre-pandemic era. Professor Lara Aknin, a Canadian professor of social psychology and one of the report's editors, said the number of people who reported helping strangers sharply increased in 2020, and the number has been sustained. She said, I think many people have an interest in helping others, but sometimes shy away. They don't want to overstep their welcome. The COVID-19 pandemic made it abundantly clear that many of us need help from our neighbors and friends. Becky forgives me. Thank you, Becky. So maybe people felt a greater sense of obligation and lower levels of inhibition, knowing their help would be welcomed. She said data in the coming years would help reveal whether the benevolence trend was here to stay. One perhaps really optimistic possibility is that we've now opened our eyes to the needs of other people and the emotional rewards we get from helping others, and that could fuel this positive spiral between helping others and well-being, she said. The report said researchers were struck by the longevity of the increases in benevolence appearing first in 2020, and the size and persistence of the post-COVID increases in benevolent acts meant that even in 2024, 4 years after the onset of COVID, they were still 10% higher. The World Happiness Report is an annual barometer of well-being across more than 140 nations, coordinated by the University of Oxford's Wellbeing Research Centre, the analytics company group Gallup, and the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network. This year's edition emphasized people's tendency to be too pessimistic about the kindness of others. A study across 40 countries on how often dropped wallets were returned found the rate was twice as high as people expected. And wallets were more likely to be returned if they contained money. Sorry. John F. Helliwell, an economist at the University of British Columbia and a founding editor of the World Happiness Report, said the data from the wallet study confirms that people are much happier living where they think people care about each other. The report also found that sharing meals with others was strongly linked with positive well-being across all global regions, and that those who shared more meals with others reported significantly higher levels of life satisfaction and social support. But dining alone is becoming more prevalent, especially among young people, and in the US, there has been a 53% increase in people dining alone since 2003. One reason why the country has fallen in the happiness rankings. I mean, that's a little close to home. I eat alone, but alright, whatever. Heard. The report's annual happiness rankings was led by Nordic countries, with Finland coming first out of 147 ranked nations for the 8th year in a row. Go Finland. While Costa Rica and Mexico, in 6th and 10th places respectively, entered the top 10 for the first time. Great job, Costa Rica and Mexico. The US fell to its lowest ever position in 24th place, closely following the UK in 23rd place, its lowest placing since the 2017 report. Switzerland, Canada, and Australia were all pushed out of the top 10, and this year's rankings marked the first time none of the large industrial powers ranked in the top 20. You got some work to do. The report concludes, in general, the Western industrial countries are now less happy than they were between 2005 and 2010. It added that a decline in happiness and social trust in Europe and the US has partly led to a rise in political polarization and anti-system votes. Jan Emmanuel Deneve, Oxford's Wellbeing Research Center and an editor of the World Happiness Report, said, "This year's report pushes us to look beyond traditional determinants like health and wealth. It turns out that sharing meals and trusting others are even stronger predictors of well-being than expected. In this era of social isolation and political polarization, we need to find ways to bring people around the table again. Doing so is critical for our individual and collective well-being." Oh? Sorry, I just got a warning on the YouTube. That's weird. It's showing... Ooh. Y'all experiencing any buffering issues? Not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth stream. Was that just me? Not just me. Oh, okay. Looks like... Uh-oh. No data. You are fuzzy. I think... Ooh, weather warning. Maybe the storm is... Oh, and buffering? Is the weather rolling back in? It's not weather related. Uh-oh. Why are we buffering all of a sudden? Can anybody else see us just fine? Did the stream go down? The stream's not down. I saw a no data error for a moment there. I'll keep going for the recording purpose while we, video just cleared up. Okay, cool, Producer Donna. To everybody involved with the World Happiness Report. Cheers. I just had a weather bug report. Severe thunderstorms, but not in my area. Yeah, it's fine. It buffered for a second, then back to normal from Royal. Joe said it's fine for me. Becky said good here. Okay, so that's interesting. So something's going on right now. My internet might have just hiccuped. They're probably doing repairs. I'm sure people lost power and internet services around me because that storm was rough when it whipped through here, and that wind was crazy. I was actually very surprised that I didn't lose power. I had a couple of hiccups here and there with some lightning strikes, but otherwise was absolutely fine here. Okay, it's saying that we have excellent connection. Producer Donna, you're still a bit off for me, not as sharp as usual. Give it just a moment. I think we're clearing back up. I think we've got good feed again for our final article. Yeah, it's looking like we are back to excellent connection. Clear again. All right, cool. Let's get into our last article of the night. We called this one Christina's Corner. And I'm going to copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to read along. And just know, I'm not crying. You're crying. Owner of last video rental store in Pocatello saves a portion of collection for Christina's Corner. This was posted to the East Idaho News website back on February 27th of 2025 by Logan Ramsey, who belongs to eastidahonews.com, or who works for eastidahonews.com. The last video rental store in Pocatello will live on in a small way, only for its most passionate customers. Although Video Stop has ceased all rentals and is liquidating the majority of its collection, owner David Cranning is keeping a small portion of movies and has placed them in a tucked-away corner of his adjacent K&B Quick Stop location. He's keeping these movies available to rent for only a small portion of his customer base, who have regularly come to the now-closed video rental store. One of these customers is Christina Kavanaugh, who goes to Video Stop nearly every day with her mother, Toni Kavanaugh. For Christina, 35, who has Down syndrome and is mostly nonverbal, going to rent a movie has been vital to her routine for at least the last 15 years. Now that Christina will be able to continue renting movies, Toni feels like a weight has been lifted off her shoulders. It's huge because it was a really heavy thing weighing on me. And then to find this out, it's like being sentenced to prison and then getting a reprieve. That's how much relief it was, Toni said. Video Stop has always been the mother and daughter's go-to rental store, but they would go to others around Pocatello before they all closed. Back when they had more options, Christina would tell Toni which rental store she wanted to go by saying Babar for Video Stop and Beast for Great American Video. This is because she first ordered Babar the movie from Video Stop and Beauty and the Beast from Great American Video. When Great American Video closed its doors for good, Christina didn't understand what had happened. She doesn't understand things closing, Toni said. The mother explained that it was closed and signed to her that it was broken, but Christina still needed to see the building. Her and I drove over, and I let her get out of the car, and she goes up, and there's nothing there, and the doors are locked. She still wanted to go in, and it is really heartbreaking to watch the anguish, Toni said. Christina was able to move past losing Great American Video because she still had her mainstay video rental store, allowing her to maintain her routine, which Toni said is integral to her. When new employees started to work at Video Stop, they would train them on how to interact with Christina at the checkout counter. They ask for the phone number on the account, and so she gives it to them, but she goes 2 and looks at them, and they have to say 2 or she won't move on. Then she'll go 0. They have to repeat it every time, or else it just really throws her, Toni said. They're really, really good to us there. Toni had heard that Cranning may have to close Video Stop for a while before he made it official. They'd been talking about closing it because it just hadn't been thriving. I just kept thinking, oh, maybe just one more year for the rest of our lives, Toni said. Toni didn't know how she was going to explain to Christina that Video Stop was closed. I think devastated is a really good description because I thought, how am I going to explain this to her? What are we going to do? It's just so much a part of her life, Toni said. Cranning knew that closing Video Stop would cause stress in Toni and Christina's lives, but it had gotten to the point where he could no longer keep it open. As he tried to think of a solution, he realized that he had a corner of his store that he had developed for deli storage originally, but that didn't take off as he had hoped. That area was going unused, and I thought, okay, it wouldn't be too much terrible work to just retrofit it. Put some shelving in there and move some of the movies over and just create kind of a mini video store corner for this kid so she could still have her normal routine that she's used to, Cranning said. The manager, Jennifer Klassen, said that Christina is more than just a customer to the staff at the K&B Quick Stop. They're family. It's part of her routine, seeing all of us. So yeah, she's just family, Klassen said. While Cranning will allow other people to rent videos from the section, they'll only be trusted people they recognize, who they know they'll get the movies back from. Toni first heard about the new rental section from a store employee who pointed it out to her. I said, oh, it's Christina's Corner. It's not, but that's just what I would call it, because he kinda did it for her, Tony said. When Tony saw Cranning after seeing the new section, she thanked him for taking care of her and Christina. How can your heart not melt when you just see how good they are about taking care of people in their community, she said. To David Cranning and Tony and Christina Kavanaugh. To Tony for stepping up and maintaining the structure and rigid sort of setup that Christina needs by transforming a part of your store to a video rental that was so much an integral part of her life, of Christina's life. And to Tony for doing everything you do as a mother. Cheers. I'm not crying. You're crying. Our news quote. We'll do our news quote right now because that ties into this. Human kindness has never weakened the stamina or softened the fiber of a free people. A nation does not have to be cruel to be tough. That comes from Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was the 32nd President of the United States. And again, human kindness has never weakened the stamina or softened the fiber of a free people. A nation does not have to be cruel to be tough. That's about it. 6 amazing articles for the night and ending on a real touchy-feely one. So I thank you all again for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nix News YouTube page. There will be a link up on the Facebook page tomorrow once we have gone live with, or once I've uploaded this video again to the YouTube page. Part of that, and part of what's going on with that is we upload the video again because I cut it down and we do a couple of edits. We're going to be doing more edits as well to differentiate between the YouTube videos, to differentiate between the uploaded edited video and the live videos. So the YouTube page has a collection of all the live videos, but it also has these uploaded videos that are going to be further edited and made a little bit more fun, I think. So keep an eye out for those, and we appreciate you guys checking out both by all means. So again, we're live every Sunday. Our next episode is going to be on April 6th of 2025. I encourage participation, so if you feel inclined, you can send us ideas for, or post suggestions for news brews, shout outs, news quotes, or good news articles that we can present on future episodes. If you send in articles, by all means, spread them out across our 4 major categories, and those again are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes, the really nice articles we like to end on. You can message us on Facebook or Instagram, or you can email us at somebudgetstudios@gmail.com. Links are in the description. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment on our Facebook page posts and our YouTube videos to get good news and joy out into the algorithm. I'll never tell you what to do, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate every single like, every single subscription, every single comment that y'all place on all of our media. It drives the algorithm to push good news and Hope Core out into the world, and we are continuing to build Nix News. It has been amazing, and I can't thank you all enough for growing this community, both through your word of mouth and the ads that we run, just trying to get Nix News out there and get good news out there. So thank you all so much. It really is great. As producer Donna just said, send us your pet and plant pics so that we can submit them for Nix Flora and Fauna posts on Tuesdays. Yeah, man, it's all good. It's all good. As always, thank you again so much. I love you all. Have a great night, and I will play us out.